Hello, crypto boys and ghouls, and welcome back to the channel, Tales from the Cryptmancer, where we feature content on play and earn games on the blockchain, such as Parallel. And in today's video, I wanted to talk about an interesting topic for new players and existing players alike, and that is to understand the starter deck values in Parallel. And specifically, I wanted to talk about the value that can be had within the universal cards included in the starter decks. Now, before we get started, I just want to make a note here. If you're new to Parallel, you haven't started trying the game yet, go ahead and give the Parallel game a try using this referral link if you like. It does get you 2 free apparition packs if you complete the rookie missions, and well, 2 free packs in addition to whatever else you get for joining Parallel is definitely good. It adds some extra value, gives you 10 extra AP cards to play with in your deck, and well, it helps out the channel and encourages me to create more Parallel content. With that being said, when we talk about the starter decks in Parallel specifically, right now is a great time to get these. You can get them for 0.01 ETH. It comes with 40 NFTs. You can see here, this is an example of the Cathari starter deck, the 40 cards that are included. And with this, in addition to a lot of Cathari specific cards, there are also some universal cards that you'll see here. For example, the Defiant Clone, the Crew Boss, and other cards that are present in this deck that you can use across all the Parallel factions, no matter which Parallel faction you choose to use. For example, if you mainly play Marcolian as your faction within Parallel, you might have a need for this Universal Crew Boss in your deck. It's a 5 mana 4/4 that gives +1/+1 to all of your friendly units, which is a great card to buff your board. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because when you get a starter deck of 40 NFTs to earn in Parallel, there's cards that you may not use, that you find yourself consistently banking and never really selecting to start your deck off with. And when you get them, you just basically bank them and use them for energy. In Cathari, for example, I'll walk you through cards that I don't really use. This tome here, 1 mana tome, the rousing signal here, or signum I think it's called, for 2 mana I don't use. I don't really use this Hydraless Chamber. I don't use this 8 mana card at all. I think it's Antius's Promise or something like that. I don't use Backup Copy. I don't use whatever this card is. Archivist's Pride as an example. I don't really use this Beloved Donor that much if I can choose not to. So there's really about, probably in the starter deck, there's probably a good dozen cards that I would prefer to swap out if I could. And what I did is I did some evaluation. I'm going to share this with you across all the starter decks. And what I did is I looked at the starter decks for Shroud, Cathari, Marcolian, Augencore, and Earthen. So all 5 starter decks. And I looked at the value specifically of the universal cards or the neutral cards that they're selling for on OpenSea. Now this was done a few days ago, so it may not be completely up to date and current as of this minute, but you can get the gist here and see the details. So basically what I highlighted in green or yellow are cards that I would want to add to my Cathari deck to basically allow me to win more games. And for reference, last season I played just starter cards with some of these universal cards swapped out. I made it to gold 1 last season. I could definitely get higher than that if I just had a chance to play more through the season. So with a starter deck using just these universal card swaps, basically, I think you can play quite high in Parallel without having to do anything with echoes or buying any cards off OpenSea. So in this particular case, you can see here for the Shroud universal cards that you get, in addition to all of the Shroud cards that you could play in the future, you get basically the Mercenary Gunslinger here and the Unstable Shield Generator. And the dollar value in just the universal cards in this starter deck is almost $21. It was $20.65 basically over the weekend. Now, the Mercenary Gunslinger here, you can see this card. I'll show you specifically why you might consider using this card in your deck. It is a 2-mana card, so great at the starting game. It is a 2-attack, 3-health unit, so it has some staying power and it has some good offensive attack power as well. For 2 mana, it's just a really good statted card, so you can definitely find value in that card in your deck more than likely. Now, Cathari here, obviously as a Cathari deck and a Cathari player, the Defiant Clone and the Crew Boss were cards that I would want to capitalize on. The Artifact Appraiser could also be seen as a valuable card if you play artifacts or relics. And the Vengeful Ally is also very good. It can grow out of control and really force your opponent to deal with it and spend some time on that. Now, for the universal cards in Cathari deck, the value just from those cards, in addition to the other, 30 some cards in the deck, was basically $32.20 just in these universal cards. Like if you were to buy the starter deck of Cathari and just sell the universal cards, you'd basically get your money back if you were able to sell them. Because again, you're getting 0.0092 ETH in value back by selling those cards at market prices, and you're getting the deck for 0.01 ETH. So you'd basically be getting roughly, you'd be getting basically 33 cards for free, essentially. Now, it's not exact science because you'd have to list it or get market value for them. You have to pay a little bit of base gas fees and stuff like that, but you get the point. There's a lot of value in these universal cards alone just for buying the starter deck. Now, for Marcolian, you can see here there was $31.85 in universal card value there. I personally like the Double Agent and the PS8 launcher as the 2 universal card values there. Now, if you wanted to, for example, buy a PS8 launcher card by itself, it would be 0.0079 ETH for just one card. Now you can buy the whole Marcolian starter deck for 0.01 ETH. So it just makes sense maybe if you wanted 3 PS8 launchers, just buy 3 Marcolian starter decks and sell the extra cards that you didn't need, basically to, essentially you could probably make profit and still have 3 PS8 launchers for your deck, which is crazy good value. Now, let's take a look at the PS8 launcher and the Double Agent and why they're valuable in my mind. The Double Agent, you can see here. Let's see, where is it? Or I guess it's called, is it Universal here? Where is it at? Yeah, here it is. Double Agent. It's a 2-mana card, 3 attack, 3 health, so it's overstatted. It has a muster ability. When it would enter the waste, you put it into your enemy bank instead. For most decks that you're facing at the beginning of the game, that's not really a detriment to you as a player more often than not. So having a 3/3 overstated card for 2 mana is great. Now the PS8 launcher here, this is a board control, kind of like a spell or a effect. It basically does 2 damage to a target unit as an effect, and basically allows you to maintain board control and take units off that you don't have to have units on the board to deal with. So it's a very good card, especially as it only costs 1 mana to deploy it. So you can see why there's value in that card. Now the Augencore deck has really one universal card that I think is very valuable. It's a Black Market Fixer. That card alone is worth 0.0095 on the market as of the time that I did this analysis. The value of the universal cards in the Augencore deck was 0.0105, which was more than the starter deck value itself, and that would include additionally 33 other Augencore cards that you would get as NFTs. So you can see there's value there. Now the Black Market Fixer, I think, is a kind of a must-have in your deck, especially if you're going to be playing against Shroud. The reason why is this card you can see here, it's a 4-mana card, 2/2 on the stats, so not great stats, but its muster ability is destroy target enemy unit with cost 2 or less. So any card that costs 2, 1, or 0 mana can be removed off your enemy board with this card. And that is very powerful because if you play against Shroud, they have very strong 1 and 2 mana cards that can grow to huge stats for attack and health, and being able to get rid of those with this card is very useful. So for playing Shroud and just having that card, it's very important to be able to maintain board and not just get overrun by Shroud in the mid game. And you can see here the Earthen deck here has 0.012 in value for universal cards, $42 in ETH value at the time of this past weekend. The Cunning Diplomat and the Hired Gun are cards that I currently use in my Cathari deck as universal cards, and where I see value. And we can take a look at those cards. The Cunning Diplomat here is a 2 mana card. It's a 0 attack, 3 health defender, so kind of a taunt card. And what's nice about this card is it gives you card draw. So when you deploy it, not only does it give you defense on your board, but it draws another card for you, which is really good value for 2 mana. Now, the other card here that we're looking at for Earthen was Hired Gun. Actually, I already talked about Hired Gun earlier. The other card that was mistakenly talked about earlier was Mercenary Gunslinger. Sorry, Mercenary Gunslinger is the other card from the Shroud deck, which is very good. This is a 1 mana card. The stats aren't great. It's a 1/1 for attack and health, but it does 1 pip damage basically on muster, which can help you remove cards from the board or get cards health down, which you can then subsequently remove with the cards that you have in play. So there you have it there. We can quickly show you the value here. All the starter deck universal cards have great value, even the Shroud being the least here at almost $21 of the $35 starter deck cost. You can definitely make a case for investing and buying all 5 starter decks. In some cases, buying multiple copies of starter decks to get cards like Black Market Fixer or Cunning Diplomats or PS8 launchers, get multiple copies of those and then sell cards you don't want or need to recoup your money. I think this is an interesting strategy, and I think it's key to understanding the value of starter decks right now versus the cost of cards, individual singles on the market. You can definitely, I think, do well to ROI and increase the strength of your deck. I hope this video has been beneficial for you as you look at starter decks, seeing the value there, looking at how you might approach building out your deck, not necessarily by singles off of OpenSea or the Sanctuary market, but perhaps by buying the starter decks and leveraging those values there. And again, if this video has been beneficial, if you're looking to start to play Parallel, take a look at my referral link in the video description below. You get a chance to get some 2 free apparition packs to get you started. And hey, free is good. And until next time, keep stacking those stats.